Index of the topics. 1. Definition of inflation. 2. What causes types of inflation. 3. Effects of inflation. 4. How the inflation is measured. 5. CPI. 6. Difference between WPI and CPI. 7. What is deflation? 8. What is hyperinflation? 9. What is stagflation? Definition of inflation. Inflation, in short, can be described as the increase in the general level of prices for goods and services over a period of time. Means the value to purchase the good and services raises. We get only fewer goods and services for each unit of the currency. This can impact the whole economic system of the particular country. What causes types of inflation? Of course, there are many factors that contributes to inflation, like false rumors about the prices, the money supply in the system, national debt, exchange rates, political disturbances, and many more. But the main causes of inflation are two that are widely accepted. 1. Demand pull inflation and 2. Cost pull inflation. Demand pull inflation. When demand increasing more than supply of goods and services, results to demand pull inflation. Higher demand, less supply. Cost pull inflation. Cost of goods and services increases. If the cost of investment on manufacturing goods and services increases, this results in the increase of prices and services, which is the result of cost pull inflation. Effects of inflation. Inflation does not have its effect on all the people equally. For example, for a rich man it won't make any difference to buy tomatoes at cost 50 rupees per kilogram, but for middle and poor it is a huge burden. It transfers the purchasing power of the goods and services from weaker section of society to rich, so this can promote inequality in the society. Inflation causes inflation due to increase in prices. The marketers will store the stock so as to sell at high prices. This causes further inflation as the demand is going high but not the supply. Poor are the mostly affected categories, increasing burden on them to buy goods and services. Inflation creates an uncertainty regarding future prices. This can adversely affect investor sentiment. This in turn can result in lower investment and therefore lower growth in the economy. How the inflation is measured? In India, inflation is measured by certain indices popularly known as 1. WPI Wholesale Price Index and 2. CPI Consumer Price Index. After 2012, new series of CPI. A. CPI Urban. B. CPI Rural. C. CPI Urban Rural. Wholesale Price Index. WPI previous base year to assess WPI or base year for WPI was 1993-1994 and present series has taken 2004 or 5 as base year on the recommendations working group committee set to revise WPI series. The basket of latest WPI consists of 676 items. CPI Consumer Price Index. CPI to assess the inflation on different sections of labor forces in India till the year January 2012. Only for CPI exists. 1. CPI for industrial worker CPI IW. 2. CPI for agriculture laborers CPI UL. 3. CPI for rural laborers CPI RL. 4. CPI for non-manual employees CPI UNME. CPI IW, CPI UL, CPI RL complied by Labour Bureau, Ministry of Labour and Employment. CPI UNME complied by Statistical Labour Organization CSO, Ministry of Statistics and Programme Implementation. CPI new series started 2012. 1. CPI for all urban population of India CPI Urban. 2. CPI for all rural population of India CPI Rural. 3. CPI for both urban and rural based on above CPI Urban, CPI Rural. In rural basket, weightage of housing is 0, while in urban basket this is approximately 20%. The CPI for both urban and rural is a weighted average of rural and urban baskets. This is expected to provide comprehensive and more reliable information on prices faced by public. Difference between WPI and CPI. WPI doesn't incorporate services that account for approximately 60% of GDP, whereas CPI does. If inflation is mainly due to poor inflation, WPI inflation lower inflation than CPI. In WPI, share of intermediate goods is quite high, while CPI dominates by final goods and series. CPI is based on retail prices. Deflation, opposite to the inflation, and can be defined as the decrease in the general level of price and services over a period of time, and has its impact on the economy of the country. Hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is defined as sudden, unusual, rapid inflation, which shows its considerable impact on the nation's monetary system and sometime even it collapses. Stagflation. Slowdown of economic aspects of the country which contributes to national income, and increase in the prices levels causes stagflation, which results in unemployment, rise in prices.